Here's a question asking for help understanding the book of Revelation. Thanks for the question. So here's 4 things to help better understand the book of Revelation. Thanks for the question. Oh, that was a beautiful apocalypse. No, I don't think that would actually work. I'm not sure the bride would appreciate that. But that's the point. The apocalypse is the unveiling. So if we want to understand the book of Revelation, we want to say, what's being unveiled? What's being apocalypsed? And the answer is from verse 1, chapter 1, verse 1, it's a revelation of Jesus. So that's the first key to understanding the book of Revelation, is that it's a revelation of Jesus. Second, it says the things which must shortly take place. And that is going to be another key thing, and that is to understand that the book of Revelation is a book for all the churches of all time. It's not like the book of Revelation is something that's just for the church at the very end. This is one of the mistakes that American evangelicals make when they read the book of Revelation. They see it was like a hidden book or a closed book until you get to the very end of time, and now all of a sudden it starts to make sense. No, it's a book of comfort for the church of all time. We see that in the very fact that Jesus in the first 3 chapters writes letters to churches that existed then. He wants this revelation to be a revelation of himself for all Christians at all times. Now, the third thing, and here we're going to get into the weeds a little bit, but it'll be all right. You guys can track with me. And that is that we want to watch the movement or the location of the things that are happening. We want to, and specifically this, we want to watch if we're on earth or if we're in heaven. And here is the major sort of contours of the book of Revelation. Jesus is being unveiled, but the Lord is also unveiling all of these spiritual truths about why things are working the way they are in the world. You have the beast and the false prophet and all of these things that are being unveiled. And so John is being seen the sort of the political and the economic and the spiritual persecution of the church. He's being shown the spiritual impulses of all the bad things that are happening at that time and in times to come. In other words, it's like he's seeing the wizard behind the curtain. Remember the Wizard of Oz, and you see the big powerful thing, but then there's who's pulling the levers, so John gets to see behind the curtain who's pulling all of these levers, and it's bad. I mean, when he's seeing all these things happening on earth, there's seals being broken, and there's rivers of blood, and there's the stars are falling out of the sky, and everything is falling to bits. And as John sees how bad things are in this life and the spiritual forces that are making things so bad in this life, he has to think to himself, we do too, could it be, who's in charge? Who's on the throne? I thought Jesus was on the throne, but could it be that the devil is on the throne? That Jesus has left the throne, that he's abandoned the throne, that he's not there anymore? And just when it gets so bad, then whoosh, the angel takes John into the heavenly throne room and gives him the vision of heaven, and sure enough, every time there on the throne is the Lamb as he's been slain. So John says, okay, I got it. The Lamb is still on the throne. And then back down to earth for more trumpets and more bowls and more seals and more thunders and more horses and more tragedy and the beast, the prostitute riding on the beast to attack it, and locusts and swarms. And just when he's got to think, man, oh man, now the Lamb must be off of the throne, then whoosh, back up to heaven, and sure enough, the Lamb's on the throne. And then back down to earth, and things are falling apart, and the world is falling over, and nobody's even alive, and everything's just disaster after disaster, and then whoosh, back up to heaven, back to check on the throne, and sure enough, the Lamb is there. Now, this is what Revelation is doing. It's teaching us to trust that no matter how bad things get, now what a mess things look like there. When we watch the news and when we look outside and we see things falling apart in the world, and we say, man, who's in charge around here? Then the Revelation carries us also up into heaven to say, look, there's Jesus seated on the throne. This is great. So that when you're reading the book of Revelation, pay attention to where you are. And fourth, pay attention to what you hear and what you see. Because what will happen in the book of Revelation, this is really quite a wonder, is that you'll hear something and you'll see something, and there'll be two different ways of describing the same thing. I'll just give you one example. In Revelation chapter 7, it gives us the vision of the 144,000, 12,000 from each of these 12 tribes. And it says, I heard, this is Revelation 7, verse 4, I heard the number of those who were sealed, 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel. And then, verse 9, so after it has the list, verse 9 it says, after these things I looked, and behold, a great number, a multitude which no one could number, of all nations, tribes, peoples, tongues, standing before the throne and before the Lamb, etc., etc. So that he heard the number, 144,000. He looked and he saw an innumerable multitude. And the point is, those are the same thing. What he hears described and what he sees are the same thing. It's the church, but it's from two different perspectives. The 144,000 is the church according to God's view, and the innumerable multitude is the church according to our view. Let me show you that again in chapter 5. Oh, he's there at the throne of God, and there's a scroll, and it's written on front and on back, and it's sealed, and John knows that this is important, that this scroll gets opened, but no one was able to find, was on earth or under the earth, was able to open the scroll or even to look at it. So I'm picking up in Revelation 5, verse 4. It says, so I wept much, because no one was found worthy to open and read the scroll or look at it. But then one of the elders said to me, don't weep. Behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, has prevailed to open the scroll and loose the 7 seals. So he hears, and he says, don't worry, there's one who can loose the seals. I hear his name. It's the Lion of the tribe of Judah. And then, verse 6, I looked, and behold, in the midst of the throne and the 4 living creatures, and in the midst of the elders, stood a lamb, as though he had been slain. So he hears, Lion of the tribe of Judah, and he looks and he sees the lamb. Now, that lion and that lamb is the same person. It's Jesus, seen from different perspectives. Seen from the perspective of the resurrection and his divinity, he is the one who has conquered. Seen from the perspective of the gospel, he is the lamb who was sacrificed, but it's describing the same reality. So that's rule number 4. So the 4 rules that we have today, how do you understand the book of Revelation? Number 1, recognize that it's a revelation of Jesus. Number 2, recognize that the revelation is for the church of all people of all time. Number 3, note where you are if you're watching the things unfolding in heaven or on earth. And then number 4, look at this difference between the hearing of a thing and seeing of a thing. And let that artistically be blended together. All right, good question. We got a couple more. Man, I love these questions. If you guys got some more, post them up below, or even better, if you go to the website, wolfmueller.co, there's a contact button, and you can questions there. We'll take them up some more.